In today's profound Pravachan, Maharaj reminds us that desire is not just a surface-level impulse, but a deeply rooted mental tendency tied to our motivations rather than our actions. The true obstacle to spiritual progress is not activity itself, but the desire driving it. Maharaj emphasized that only by sincerely associating with saints, practicing contentment, and surrendering desires at the feet of God can we cleanse ourselves of these compulsive longings. When we allow God to occupy our inner space fully, desire finds no foothold. This teaching finds beautiful resonance in the life of Sri Pothuluri Veerabrahmendra Swamy, the great Telugu seer, mystic, and author of the prophetic Kalagyanam, who demonstrated how even profound spiritual wisdom must be accompanied by total renunciation of worldly desire. Desire cannot endure where God is. If we come across a very cruel person, we often dub him as a butcher in his past life. This, however, is not correct. A man is not reborn according to his professional activity, but according to his propensity or passions. We have therefore to be careful in regard to motives. It is not the act but the motivating cause that justifies it or condemns it. We reinforce sensory pleasures with our desire and get stuck in the mire of these. Desire will decay and will finally die only by living in the company of saintly persons. Association influences likes and dislikes. The resultant desire motivates all actions. Desire affects young and old alike. Even if a man feels fed up with desire, it clings tenaciously to him, even through death, and go on into the next birth. It is, like God, eternal. Desire occurs in three phases: the wish to have, if possible, the will to possess, and the yearning to have at any cost, the phase in which the yearning occupies the entire mind and makes the mind uneasy without it. Now, what do we do when we want to remove a tree? We lop off the outer branches first and work towards the trunk and roots. Similarly, when we want to destroy desire, we begin by plugging minor likes and dislikes and working backward to loftier desires. In the beginning, pray to God for what you want. If He does not grant the prayer, acquiesce as not being eventually good for you. Progressively, the very desires will die and your mind will become agreeable to accept what He provides altogether, giving up all desire. You know, it's a bit childish to believe that God can be attained just by asking. Should we not, at the very least, try to suppress our unjustifiable desires? Even those desires that seem justifiable should really be indulged only as far as our moral and religious boundaries allow. The thing is, the desires of the wealthy often turn into so-called necessities, simply because they're used to commanding whatever they want with their money. So, more often than not, they never really get rid of desires. Time, in its own way, hooks people with false hopes and keeps luring them forward, right up until death. So, the one who frees himself from the grip of desires, well, he actually liberates himself from both pleasure and pain. To live in your own home with the detachment of a guest, that alone can help you reduce desires. Sri Veerabrahmendra Swamy, even though he's celebrated as a mystic who wrote those astonishing prophecies in Kalagyanam, actually lived a life completely free from desire. In fact, he even renounced the praise and miracles that naturally came with his yogic powers. There was this one time, a group of villagers came to him, pleading for rain during a terrible drought. Seeing their suffering, he wrote a prophecy and placed it in the village temple. And soon after, the rains arrived. This was not done by me, but by God's compassion. If I took credit or reward, I'd only be feeding my ego and desire. His restraint, even though he had the power to fulfill and control outcomes, showed that when God is truly established in the heart, even spiritual desires just melt away. He didn't live for miracles, but rather to awaken in people a pure longing for moksha, not for miracles. In today's Pravachan, Maharaj helps us realize that our real battle isn't with the world outside, but with the attachments in our own mind. Even desires that look good should be surrendered, because only God really knows what's truly good for us. As Maharaj said, we shouldn't just do sadhana, but also examine our motive, since only a purified motive can lead to true freedom. The life of Sri Pothuluri Veerabrahmendra Swamy really drives home this point, that the absence of desire isn't emptiness, but actually the fullness of divine presence. So let us sit every day with our hearts at the Lord's feet, seeking not pleasures but purity. As Maharaj always says, live in Nama, live without desire, and you shall live in bliss.